Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you the mini-series finale of this little deep dive thingamabobber I was doing for the stereotypical scary factions of 40k. And we are ending it with the Imperium of Man, or the ones that don't really want to be a part of the Imperium Man. Hey, I feel that. So today we have AdMech, and naturally I could talk to you about the thing that just won. I don't see much AdMech coverage on my timeline. Don't know if that goes the same for all of you that are clicking on this, but about 2 weeks ago, I made a video like, hey, wow, what's going on with AdMech? They seem to only have Skitarii Hunter cohort ever do anything good. And then I made a video about earlier this week in which I found out they finally took it home in something. There was a lot of second places, but first was looking dismal. But then, going through these things, another thing happened. This past week, we have Levi Chester with Rad Zone Core coming in fourth place. With Belisarius Call in the list, as well as two Tech Priests. Then, after recording a different video, partway through AdMech, I realized something that could be better than what I gave it credit for a little bit back. But also, I like highlighting things that can be useful. I'm not going to say that it's better than Skitarii Hunter Cohort, but if you're looking for a new way to play, I think I think there's something here. When AdMech got their update, in that balance data slate, they pretty much made the faction rule a little bit better and slapped it on a couple of things that didn't have it for whatever odd reason. Now, for the army rule, let's go through it real quick. At the start of the battle round, you can select one of the Doctrina imperatives below. Until the end of the battle round, that Doctrina imperative is active for your army, and all units from your army that have the Doctrina imperative ability gain the relevant abilities shown below. Ranged weapons get heavy, your ballistic skill characteristic goes up by 1, and if you are battle line or around battle line, subtract 1 from hit rolls and melee if you choose Protector. If you choose Conqueror, everybody gets Assault, well, that has Doctrina Imperative, weapon skill characteristic up by 1 on melee, and each time a model in this unit makes an attack, if that unit has the battle line keyword or is within 6 inches of one or more friendly AdMech battle line units, improve the AP characteristic of that unit by that attack by 1. So, this is going to be very important, okay? Because what if we did a little bit of shenaniganizing with Data Psalm Conclave? And this is why value is not always apparent, even though sometimes it is right there in front of our faces. Now, that's just because I don't know much about AdMech, and I definitely didn't know much before I got to researching to figure out what I wanted to do for this video. And any AdMech player might tell you if this is worth anything. That's neither here nor there at the moment, but feel free to comment if you think that this is just like utter buffoonery or if there's something at play here. But outside perspectives sometimes help because in the orc video you heard me talk about somebody that just picked up Brian Sipe, got second at LGT by just picking up 3 orcs so let's get started boxes, right? And sometimes it just takes a little bit of a different perspective because you know what your internal balance looks like and you know what's good. But sometimes we don't really know how good. For the entire edition, I've been hearing that Cataphon Breachers are insane and they're the best AdMech unit. Now, given how Skitarii Hunter Cohort is the best detachment, when do you ever see those get played nowadays? Now, it's fine to bring them and tangent to that, but what about the detachment that really highlights them? So, Data Sound Conclave is At the start of the first battle round, select one of the following benedictions of the Omnissiah to be active for Cult Mechanicus units from your army or until the end of the battle. Cult Mechanicus, all of these, right? You see Cataphron Breachers and things that attach. And when I first read this, Panegric, Pangyric, somebody help me out. Procession. Each time a Cult Mechanicus model from your army makes a ranged attack that targets a unit within half range, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. I thought it was utter dog shit. I believe I say that in the video, maybe verbatim. But, because I was like, model, why didn't you just give it to the entire unit? That way you could slap on uh, Tech Priest Dominus and give it to the Skitari Rangers and to get more AP on those attacks, right? On top of like everything else. So we'll get to why this is better than I thought in a second. Then we have Citation and Savagery. That's a cold ass name. Each time a Cult Mechanicus unit from your army is selected to fight, if that unit made a charge move this turn, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the strength and attack characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. Okay. I also read this, I was like, there's no way in hell I want to make a charge move for like most of this shit. It's not like I'm actually going to be taking the Electro Priest. They kind of suck ass. I still pretty much stand by that, so you're probably taking this one, but I can see why you give the option. When we come over with the enhancements, ignore this one, this one, this one. Well, half this one. This is the one we want to focus on. With Temporcopia, sure. Tech Priest model only. The bearer's unit has the Fights First ability. Now, this allows you to put a Tech Priest, let's go Manipulus here, with giving that unit Fights First. And that could be Cataphron Breachers. So if somebody is like, well, I know they're a shooting unit, or I guess the destroyers are more the shooting unit, but either way, now their melee is something that you have to worry about because you're not getting through T7, T6 wounded or toughness models without a little bit of struggle, especially when they fight first. Okay? Now coming to why this one is a partial Data Blast Auto Summon for 20 points. You can put it on a Tech Priest, of course. All of those are Tech Priest only. Once per battle, at the start of your command phase, you can select the benediction of the Omnissiah you did not select at the start of the first battle round. Until the start of your next command phase, that benediction of the Omnissiah is active for the bearer's unit in addition to the one that is currently active for your army. So, if you really want to just send it with one unit for one turn, charge, +1 to strength, +1 to attacks for melee. Um, well, I take that back. Move, shoot, charge, strength, and attacks melee. Maybe you can send something that you really needed to knock out, but it gets easier when we come down to some of this stuff. I also looked at Incantation of the Iron Soul. You're not going to use it, but when looking at what your Cult Mechanicus options are, it's fine that they put this in here. Till the end of the phase, Cult Mechanicus models in your unit have the Feel No Pain 4-up against mortal wounds. Now, that doesn't sound impressive. You're just like, why not just make it a 4-up Feel No Pain? Well, they have access to a 5-up Feel No Pain with the Tech Priest Dominus, if I remember which one is which correctly right now. But also, we've seen that Mortal Wounds giving this as a ability kind of makes or breaks Custodes, apparently, as far as what they tell me, besides the fact that they are still upset about women existing. But hey, Incantation of the Iron Soul is just like, well, why not be pseudo Custodes for a little bit? And on to that point, we'll come back to a Custodes unit a little bit later. But Tribute of Emphatic Veneration, this is dog shit, but it gives the option of possibly making your opponent battle shocked. or one of their units battle shock, that is, until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in that enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So this is the start of your movement phase, and this will only apply in the fight phase, basically. So, hey, there's that. Chant of the Remorseless Fist is where things get interesting. Until the end of the phase, each time a Cult Mechanicus model in your unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll. Okay? Cult Mechanicus unit. Any of them. Any of them. Cataphron Breachers, +1 to the wound roll. Fights first. Strength and attacks, not necessarily. You're not choosing this overall, but, you know, maybe you do that one, and bam, maybe you this one, bam, you see the vision. Litany of the Electromancer. 1 Cult Mechanicus unit from your army. In your shooting phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of 1 or more Cult Mechanicus models in your unit, adding 1 to the result if that model is an electro piece. On a 5 up, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortar wounds. Dog shit, but maybe you need the extra wounds somehow, besides from grenades. Luminescent Blessing. 1 Cult Mechanicus unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks during the shooting phase. You give your models a 4-up invulnerable save. The models in the unit, the entire unit, 4-up invulnerable save. And again, Cataphron Breachers. Now, that's not the only unit we'll be talking about, but if it's the best unit, you want those around, especially when you give them a 5-up Feel No Pain, or end a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. I'm just saying, you can roll this out. Till the end of phase with Versa Vengeance. Each time a Cult Mechanicus model in your unit is destroyed, 4-up, fight on death. Cool. Now, let's talk about Belisarius Call, who is a Cult Mechanicus unit. He is arguably the Cult Mechanicus unit. Levi. Maybe it's Levi. Somebody correct me. But I'm guessing it's Levi. Brought Call. Okay? Nobody brings Call. This Call isn't that good. As far as most people would say, right? Most people aren't bringing Call. If you can bring Call in Red Zone, that's your index detachment that pretty much wants you to keep your opponent in their deployment zone and maybe 6 inches further than that, but not much else. Call doesn't move very fast. Now he can go through walls because of that balanced data slate update that last go around, but you know, he's still not the speediest one around. But if we give Call the ability to advance, and we give friendly AdMech within 6 inches of this model the ability to reroll once to hit, and we advance, get within half range of our 18-inch weapon. Admittedly, this one is not the perfect example, but follow me. We are now doing something like D3, Blast, Melta D3, Strength 14, AP 5, Damage 3, Melsa, because, well, you're within half range. That hurts. Now, not the best one, but you also have the option of giving Call the battle line keyword and the following ability. Well, a friendly AdMech, this is each time you take a battle shock or leadership test, +1 to the test. This one is purely if you need to make yourself battle line. That way your other things around you also get the advantages of being battle line, or having battle line around them, that is. Improving the AP characteristic of that attack by 1, you say. So, again, not to say that this is good, but just so you can understand the logic of where the rest of this is going. +1 AP, Reroll hit rolls of 1. AP 4 plus AP of 1. That's AP 6 on an attack, right? Like all the King's horses and all the King's men, if you don't have an invulnerable save, you're not living through that ever again, right? So, not to say that I think that call is an auto include in this detachment, nor do I frankly believe that call is an auto include ever. But if somebody else can bring call and not his main detachment, I'd say I'd say there's use in thinking about call in Datacom Conclave. Yes, I looked back because I did completely blank for a second on what the name of this damn detachment was. I'm still not sure how to pronounce this. Actually, let's do it live. Let's do it live. Sorry if that blew out your ears out. I wasn't expecting that volume. Panegyric. Panegyric procession. Right? Okay. So then we go over to the Tech Priest Dominus. Dominus. Who can attach to Cataphron Breachers and Destroyers. Okay. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a 5-up feel no pain, 4-up if it's Electro Priest. At the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy vehicle within engagement range, yada yada yada, do mortals to a vehicle. And until the end of phase, the weapon skill characteristic of melee weapons equipped by that enemy unit is worth about 1. Won't always come into play, but that's an option. Giving Cataphron Breachers 5-up feel no pain while having semi-decent weapons, options of weapons. Could be kind of cool. Let's just go with a Volkite Blaster, okay? Dev wounds. That's automatically wounding. So that is included, but if you go with the Eradication Ray, focused, you can take that up to AP 4 out of your tiny little guy, or AP 3. Macro Stubber can be replaced with the Ignores Cover Pistol. So, one shot, hitting on 3s, possibly rerolling 1s, you're next to call, right? Yeah, 5, 3, 2. It's not the best, it's one shot, but it's something. If you just stick with the pistol, that means even in combat you're firing this thing off. 5, 4, 2, 1. Okay, I like that. Fair enough. Now, I brought up the Electro Priest because I, I'd be kind of an asshole if I didn't tell you I didn't know that they had a 5 of Feel No Pain, which then becomes a 4 of Feel No Pain. But they also have -1 to wound roll while the character is leading this unit. And after recent highlights, you can. There's other like units that are just a little bit like, why? Why are you as tanky as you are for not that much? Now, mind you, that would be at least 75 plus 75, so 150 points for a little block of dudes with a 5-up invulnerable save, a 5-up feel no pain, -1 to the wound roll. Now, and possibly -1 to hit. So I could see a world where you bring the full right Electro Priest in Datacom Conclave. That way they just soak up something. Maybe somebody tries to mortal wounds them away, and you just say, alright, no, you gotta deal with that. They're gonna be in your face for a second. And then during the fight phase, you get your wound rolls in, even though they already have dev wounds, but alright, 10 attacks, hitting on possibly 2s, right? Yeah, possibly hitting on 2s, plus wound to wound. And then dev wounding whatever somebody might not have thought they would get dev wounded by. This is the only exception of Electro Priest that I could have see you bringing. But while we're here, we might as well just show you that you're not bringing the Corpus Scary Electro Priest. Now, if there's a world that you think that they are better, please tell me. But In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, select one enemy unit that isn't a monster or vehicle hit by one or more of these attacks. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, that enemy is shocked. While the unit is shocked, subtract 2 from its move characteristics and subtract 2 from advance and charge rolls made for it. Now, as a lover of barb gaunts, I can understand, but the volume of shots, if you get 10 models, that's 30 shots. Sustained hits 2 pistol, but only 12-inch range. So, like, you have to be close to do this. Now, if you're within 6 inches, well, they are pistols, so hey. Within 6 inches of it, that's 30 shots, sustained hits 2, 5, 1, 1, or maybe even 5, 2, 1. Hitting all threes, it's a visit. It's a possibility, but you know, I wouldn't break the bank for it. So that's the Electro Priest real quick. Then we go to what starts to be the insanity of what I was overlooking. Okay, we start with the Tech Priest Manipulus, who gives their unit lethal hits. They have a Magna Rail Lance that is one shot, 7, 2, 3. Or it can become Transonic Cannon, Death Wounds Torrent, D6, 4 AP 0, 2 damage. Now, Torrent auto wounds. So, you don't really care about the strength. I'm sorry, auto hits. You don't really need to care about the strength when you're dev wounding. So, that's that. But, if you stick with the Magna Rail Lance and you just fire that shot off at 18 inches, 7, 4, 3 possibility. Alright? Like there's a chance. 7, 4, 3 damage from just a silly little guy. But again, lethal hits. So, you know. And heavy. So you don't even have to worry about it. Especially if you're in the Conquer Imperative, right? You get heavy and assault. Seems kind of weird that you could do that, but that is an option. So, Tech Priest Dominance. Keep this in your memory for the next thing. Sorry, Tech Priest Manipulus. Keep that in your memory for the next one. Cataphron Breachers. 5-inch move. Fine. I was like, what the fuck do you mean they're infantry? I could have sworn that these would be mounted, because my bad. Infantry, so they can do infantry movement. But T7, 3 up save, 6 up invuln, 3 wounds each model. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, re-roll a hit roll of 1. It doesn't say range, doesn't say melee, in attack. While this unit is within 6 or more inches of one or more friendly AdMech battleline units, you can re-roll the entire hit roll instead. And we're talking about either a heavy arc rifle with anti-vehicle 4-up and rapid fire 2. So within 15 inches of range, you are firing 4 shots. Ballistic scale of 4, sure. Strength 8. AP 4 in the right one. D3. Yeah. Anti-vehicle 4-up. You hit those 4s, you're taking out whatever vehicle you needed in a squad of 6 of these things. So 6 times 4, quick math, 24. 24 shots. I think you're getting whatever vehicle you wanted with damage 3. And if you feel like you brought the infantry version with anti-infantry blast, 36 D3 622. I say you just go, and it goes any number of models. Maybe you do 3 and 3. Maybe you min-max it that way. Maybe you bring one squad that is max torsion cannons, one squad heavy arc rifles. That way, you know your anti-infantry squad on 2s, right? AP 4, damage 3. I'm sorry, damage 2. D3, blast. That'll get through something like some Deathwing Knights. Now, mind you, they'll reduce the damage by 1, but you're getting those wounds in. AP4, you're making them take it on their invuln, if you go about that way. Now, going into the melee weapons, also still very interesting. If you go with the Arc Claw, anti-vehicle 4 up, 4, 4, 5, 1, 1, wounding, extra wound rolls, sorry, extra ones to wound, because of Chant of the Remorseless Fist. Maybe some fights first action on that one. Maybe +1 to strength and attacks, +1 to wound. Rerolling hits. I think you could take out whatever vehicle that you thought that you needed this for. And on the other hand, Hydraulic Claw. 2, 4, 8, 2, 3. Again, maybe you just need to beat some ass. Maybe you don't bring the Arc Claw because if you were wounding a vehicle on 5s anyway, because what thing are you punching with Cataphon Breachers that has toughness 16, right? So you're wounding on at least 5s, and you take it down to 4. That's the same as if you were doing anti-vehicle 4 up. So, and you're getting that damage 3 in with bonus AP. Cataphon Breachers, the thing that I've always heard so much about. Yeah, and this makes it so that you don't have to spend 3 grand on making an AdMech list, because there are 320 points for 6 models. I can understand why when you can do things like this. Going to the lethal hits of the Manipulus and having once per battle, giving them the option of having a 4-up invulnerable save, so you don't even have to waste your command point on Luminescent Blessing. Lethal hits on a metric fuck ton of shots with a lot of AP. Yeah, that's damn near death wounding if they don't have an invuln. Techno Archaeologist. I brought this one up because this one's interesting. For possibly the Cataphron Destroyers in my head. Follow me. While the model is leading a unit, add 1 to the object characteristic of models in that unit. Enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches horizontally of this model. Okay, so no deep strike around 12. You got your scrambler field. Not really caring about what this profile is, but if we give our destroyers OC2, you have to walk onto the objective. They get fire overwatch on 5s. Hmm. 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 And maybe, just maybe, if they end up getting charged, maybe they had their fights first from Temper Copia. Or maybe they also still have fight on death because you just said fuck it, right? Maybe the wound roll. So that's just like this is an interesting back pocket kind of thing. Uh Usually you put this just right on your home field and let that sit. So maybe 45 plus 105, so 150 is a little bit too much for just holding your backfield. I agree. But if you just want to finally take hold of something after you lethal hits, re-rolling hit rolls of 1, rapid fire 2, anti-vehicle 4 up, or anti-infantry 2, blasting things, I think I think it's safe to say that your best unit in the codex could easily take out a good number of things. Now, to be fair, I'm a Tyrannage player, right? Is this going to break down the house for my Tyrannofex, my Exocrine? No, it won't. But it is a fighting shot when you have reroll hit rolls of 1 and lethal hits AP4. Yes, because neither of the things I listed have an invuln save. Now, for the Maliceptor or a Norn Emissary, yeah, they might have a little bit of an easier time, but this is still damage 3 attacks we're talking about here. Rapid firing, re-rolling hits, rollers of 1, lethal hits, adding dumb amounts of AP. So, I think there's some stuff here, but going back to becoming Custodes, I did want to talk about one little surprise here. Because somebody brought something a little bit sneaky, and it is, I've heard Art of War and some other people call this the best unit for the Custodes. See, going over to, trying to remember whose list it was really quickly. I'm blanking on it. Was it? Did I just click the same list twice? I'm pretty sure I did. Is it the same Mad Lad? It was. Inquisitor Draxus. Okay. Let's talk about what Draxus and the other Inquisitors give really quickly. Because I think this is kind of fun. Let's go down to Draxus to start off. Add 1 to the hit roll for your battle line that you attach this to. So if we're going AdMech, you're putting this Rangers or Vanguard. And let's get those pulled up just for everybody to see. Add 1 to the hit roll if it isn't Imperium or Chaos. And in your command phase, roll a d6 on a 1, take damage to the Psyker's unit. Again, the Psyker's unit, so that could just be on one of your little guys taking d3 mortal wounds. Or, you know, if you roll a 2 up, your opponent cannot target this Psyker's unit for ranged attacks without being within 18 inches. The Rangers have death wounding weapons, and they sticky. They also can have access to ignores cover, as both of them can. The Vanguard, while an enemy unit is within 3 inches of this unit, subtract 1 from the object control of models in that unit. So there's a world where you bring Vanguard, and you are just with your Cataphren destroyers, right? Going up to OC2, and your Techno Archaeologist making them go to OC2. Just doing funny shenanigans. Now, the Marshal, you're still bringing the Marshal, right? So you can reroll hits. This isn't about the things that you're already bringing. Even though battle line is a key thing, I thought Draxus was funny. Then I was like, well, I actually don't know what the fucking Inquisitors do. Are you still bringing Calidus? Surprisingly, I looked through a lot of the AdMech list. Apparently you're not. But that's a thing that people also can probably do if we're already bringing agents. Graphex also makes it interesting, and which you can give this model unit anti-psyker 4 up when they already have, let's just go, things like anti-infantry and anti-vehicle. Dev wounding weapons. Sorry, anti-vehicle for them. Dev wounding weapons though. Anti-psyker 4 up, that's for if you're fighting Eldar, Chaos, Tyrannage, like most factions except for like Necrons have a psyker. So, maybe bring Greyfax out. But also, well, this model is leading the unit. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack that targets a unit below half strength, add 1 to the hit roll. Then your little guys that were hitting on 4s, and then possibly 3 ballistic scale, right? Then become the hitting on 2s, ignore cover. Little guys, not so little. And then finally, the other one that I thought was interesting for them as an option is the Inquisitor. This way you can free up the enhanced data tether and just straight up ignores cover by making it so that you on 3 up, gain that CP if you target that model's unit. That's just an aside. While you still have access to an anti-infantry weapon, dev wounds, torrent, the whole shebang. But out of them, I'm like, y'all should be looking at Grey Facts for some shenaniganizing. Bring that, and honestly, as we got later in the edition, and they were more willing to make other things battle line. In the case of like Gretchen for Dreadmob, it's kind of interesting that they didn't think about making. Let me just double check so I don't say something completely stupid in front of me. Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they didn't make the Electro Priest battle line in this detachment. Like +1 OC and make them battle line. Probably would be more willing to field an army of them too. Also, highlight this unit that a lot of people are bringing. Scorpius Dune Riders. This list, triple Scorpius Dune Rider, triple Scorpius Disintegrator, and a detachment that doesn't necessarily benefit them too tough. I take that back. They are Skitarii. I always forget this. Every time I'm like, no. The things that shouldn't be Skitarii are Skitarii. But, Scorpius Disintegrator. Yeah, okay. So, there's still options in that one. My bad. But, I think it's still a fine addition to any list. In your shooting phase, after this model is shot, select one enemy unit that score one or more hits against this phase. Until the end of phase, each time a friendly model that disembarked from this transport makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. So, this is if you do want to bring the Electro Priest. +1 to the wound, re-roll the wound roll for their damage situation. Say you want to bring the ones that actually have something to do with firing. Those were the Corpuscari, right? Yeah. Say that you bring Corpuscari and put them in Dune Rider, reroll wounds for that possibly barrage of attacks at 5-2-1, right? Because that's pretty much, again, we're focusing on Panegyric procession. So, you know, just wanted to highlight some options here as to maybe Data Storm Conclave can get another look. I've seen people make detachments work with less. Like, it's fine. It's. I'm not going to say, again, not saying that it's better than Skitarii Hunter Cohort because apparently everything got that keyword more than the army got their army rule beforehand. But hey, so tell me what you think about this. I'm not an AdMech player. Take all of this with a grain of salt. I just thought this was a little fun thing to go through some factions that I don't know too much about, starting with the ones that I do know about, and see what can be delved from the spooky boys of 40k. So, yeah. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment from me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.